And joining me now to discuss the legality of the president's actions, Jay Sekulow from the American Center for Law and Justice, along with former special counsel to President Clinton, Fox News contributor Lanny Davis. To both of you, I say, this to me is about the constitutionality of what the president did on Friday, more than the substance, which I think the country is very open to having on the issue of the DREAM Act, illegal immigration, those that are in the country. Let's go back to September of 2011, and let's listen to the president's own words about whether or not what he did Friday was even allowed.
The notion that I can just suspend deportations through executive order, that's just not the case, because there are laws on the books that Congress has passed, and I know that everybody here at Bell is studying hard, so you know that we've got three branches of government. Congress passes the law. The executive branch's job is to enforce and implement those laws.
Now, Jay, I have numerous other tape of the president saying pretty much the same thing. So how is it if the president didn't believe it, he could go ahead and then do it a year later?
No, I think the president knew exactly what he was doing. He just did it because it was politically expedient. The reality is President Obama is a Harvard Law School graduate. He taught at the University of Chicago. He knows he cannot suspend the laws of Congress that were passed by Congress and signed by the president at the time. What the president has done here is exactly that. He has suspended an act of Congress. He's refusing to enforce the law by basically executive fiat, and at the same time kind of sends out a political email fundraiser a few hours after that speech touting his new decision. Now, look, I agree with you. I think there's merits to what Senator Marco Rubio, which is basically this very similar to this policy that the president's put forward. The policy makes a lot of sense to a lot of people. That's not the issue. The issue is the legality of the action of the president and the political consequences of that. And this goes in a line of other actions by the president where the determination to which laws are going to be enforced and which are not become purely political, and that violates the Constitution in my view.
Now, Senator Rubio will be with us in our next block here. Lanny, the idea that we have co-equal branches of government, we have a system of checks and balances here, but I think the thing that really struck me in all of this is that the president, in his own words, on numerous occasions, stated that he could not do what he did Friday. So then the question is, where are the people on the left? Where are people like yourself on this issue?
I think that the president did have the authority. I actually disagree with his interpretation that as a matter of prosecutorial discretion, the executive branch does not have to prosecute everyone, even though there's laws on the books. There's no dispute about that. Democrats criticized President Bush when he issued executive orders, including statements made on the signing of legislation that he wouldn't enforce certain provisions of legislation. This is an historic battle between the executive and the congressional branches of government that goes back in history. It's not unusual if someone wants to challenge the legality. That's what our third branch is for, the court system.
Let's go back to the, let's go ahead, Jay, you want to jump in?
Well, yeah, Lanny, here's the problem. You could have a judge that issued an order today on a deportation, and the president basically has overturned the determination of an immigration judge. And that's just not the way the three branches of government are supposed to work. And there's a big difference, and you know this, you're a great lawyer. There's a big difference between statements in a signing ceremony than there is when a law is on the books and the president unilaterally makes the determination not to enforce it. A very different situation.
Jay, almost word for word, you are using the words of then President Barack Obama pretty much just a year ago.
Right.
And let me play this for our audience so they understand and fully grasp here the magnitude of what he did on Friday. Let's play this.
Now, I swore an oath to uphold the laws on the books. Now, I know some people want me to bypass Congress and change the laws on my own. Believe me, the idea of doing things on my own is very tempting. I promise you, not just on immigration reform. But that's not how our system works. That's not how our democracy functions. That's not how our Constitution is written.
This notion that somehow I can just change the laws unilaterally is just not true. The fact of the matter is there are laws on the books that I have to enforce. And I think there's been a great disservice done to the cause of getting the DREAM Act passed and getting comprehensive immigration passed by perpetrating the notion that somehow by myself I can go and do these things. It's just not true.
Lanny, your predictable liberal talking point is to find an instance where you felt that George W. Bush did the same thing. Putting that all aside, you heard the president numerous times now in his own words saying he does not believe he couldn't do this, but then he did it anyway. Now, do you believe he did it for crass political purposes, as I do?
I think he was motivated by politics, but I think he's right on the policy. I agree with George Bush. I agree with Jeb Bush. I agree with Senator Rubio. I agree, in fact,
but what does it say about this president?
One second. I don't think that President Obama went far enough. I think there should be a pathway to citizenship.
That's not the issue.
The same way that President Bush.
That's a separate issue. We can debate that.
You know,
but go ahead, Jay.
Yeah. Yeah, Sean, here's the thing, and Lenny, again, here's the problem. The president had the majorities of the House and Senate where he could have put forward comprehensive immigration reform. He did not do that. Instead, he spent his political capital on the health care legislation. That's the reality of what we're dealing with. Remember, it was President Bush that had comprehensive immigration reform. The fact of the matter is, though, the president rightly acknowledged that he's not the king, although he acted like one Friday when he made this unilateral decision. The kings get to make and decree laws and enforce what they want and not enforce what they don't want. Presidents don't have that option. And there's, again, a major difference between a signing statement, Lanny, and the actual laws on the books. Big difference
Jay,
there.
let me upset
And this isn't
Sean,
prosecutorial discretion either, just to correct you on that. That's not prosecutorial discretion. There's no prosecution here.
Jay, let me upset Sean by agreeing with you on the policy, and I think Mitt Romney is the outlier here. At least we agree that Rubio is right. You didn't hear Romney agreeing during the debate. Even Newt Gingrich and Rick Perry were more liberal on this
you want to
policy
go back
than
to the
Romney.
substance of the
believes in self-deportation of 11 million people. I know that you and I agree on that, but Mitt Romney does not. And wait a minute, during the debate, he said 11 million people should self-deport. That's what Romney said.
It doesn't, you'll turn anything into politics. The issue is here whether or not what the president said was unconstitutional and outside of his authority that he decided to do because he didn't want to go through the process, which, by the way, this is the way our system is designed. To change the law is difficult, and he obviously didn't want to go that way, and he went against his own principles. That's the issue, but we got to roll.
I agree there's a doubt here on executive power. It's existed throughout history. Roosevelt exerted
but he's
executive
going
power.
against his own
Abraham
position.
Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation. This has been a historical tension. We agree, Jay, on at least that much.
There we go.
All right,
we
guys.
agree.
Thank you both for being with us.